Folks, mark this day on your calendar because I don't know the next time you're going to see and hear what you're going to see and hear today on the media around the world and especially in this country. Because what we have going on is the liberal, lamestream, radicalized media is actually praising President Trump. They're giving him his props, his just due. They can't poke holes in this story. And what's the story? Right here. Trump declares momentous breakthrough in the Middle East after Gaza deal agreed. He did it. He got Hamas, and I know the name, but for purposes I'm screw it, I'm gonna say it. Hamas and Israel have come to a peace deal, and it is a 20-point peace deal. And this is the first phase where they agree to stop firing weapons. Israel starts withdrawing troops to a certain point. Hamas will release their prisoners. Israel will release their prisoners. Lorry loads, which carry all types of supplies and humanitarian aid, will be allowed into the Gaza Strip. And this is on the heels of the lamestream media, the Democrat Party, doing everything they can to sabotage President Trump's ability to get this deal done. Biden couldn't do it. Obama couldn't do it. And these leftoids did nothing but call Trump a fascist, a dictator, and acted like he was a warlord when everything this man has done has been to save lives and bring peace. It doesn't matter if it's in Ukraine or if it's Israel and Hamas. All President Trump is doing is trying to bring peace. Even the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, even he came out and said that President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for the deal that he brokered. When the Prime Minister of Israel is happy with the deal, when Hamas is satisfied with the deal, you done some negotiating, and this man deserves his flowers. All in the negative press that he gets, the fact that these folks are giving him his flowers, regardless of how minimal it is worth it. It's just due. So you see this title. So what I want to do is I want to get off into these clips of the lamestream media actually giving it up. And remember, these are the same people when Joe Biden was running office and college campuses were being overran by radical Palestinian supporters. Jewish children were being accosted, were being bullied, were being forced to not be able to go to class. They were protesting. And then the Democrats start eating their own. They weren't protesting conservatives over this Gaza and this Israeli situation. They were protesting Democrats. We saw at Kamala Harris's recent book tour. She was trying to go out and promote her 170 days, and one of the radical left-wing extremists just straight up ruined her first stop on her book tour in embarrassing fashion, made her have to stop the show and threaten to shut it down.
About how and why you are saying what you are saying now and how I felt about it, you're not letting me talk. You know what? I respect your right to speak, but you're not letting me speak. Let's bring the temperature down.
But that's what happens when you breed radicalism. So let's look at the left-wing lamestream media as they eat crow. And then I'm going to follow it up where Fox News is going to give a breakdown of the deal and what it means for Israel, Palestine, and for America. So check out Abby Phillips, one of the most annoying people on television. On CNN, they have 4 or 5 Democrats, one conservative being Scott Jennings, and he wipes the floor with all of them. And Dan Goldman, the white guy right there on the right side, and then you got Cornel West. Dan Goldman is a New York Richie Rich who is a leftist, but he's not far left. But he does skullduggery, and some can perceive him allegedly as a scumbag. And then Cornel West, he's a professor that is a leftist, and he can be far left with some of his ideology. Even him, as respected as he is still pushing an agenda that I feel is not for the betterment of Black people, Hispanic people, or for people as a whole. But let's check out what they have to say.
That this was not doable when President Biden was in office.
I think the biggest problem that the President Biden had is there was no pressure from Qatar, from Turkey, from Egypt. They were actually facilitating in many ways what was going on. And that is really ultimately how it all came together.
So, but I think by saying that, it's sort of an acknowledgement Trump has changed that dynamic.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think absolutely.
That, he's clearly.
I don't know how he, and I think there's a lot that remains to learn about what prompted that change. But I do agree, yes, somehow, some way that changed.
That this was not.
So That acknowledgement from Dan Goldman, even though as minimal as it was, that's huge. These people are programmed to never say anything positive about this man. If he says that it's sun outside, they're gonna say it's the nighttime, even though the sun is blaring, regardless of how they look. The optics of the Democrat Party is anti-Trump. We have no plan. Instead of always saying anti-Trump, show people what you got. But that's the thing. They have nothing but hatred, chaos, and supporting illegal immigrants and corruption. That's why with their slush fund, the USAID, which I believe was George Soros's personal piggy bank, when we find out that billions of dollars from USAID had flowed to the Open Society, which is a Soros-ran program. Billionaires are smart. If he can avoid spending his money and spend America's to help destroy America, that's what he was doing. All of this Green New Deal crap. These billions upon billions of dollars that we found was going to NGOs. Now, NGO was a non-government organization, in case you heard that phrase and said, what was an NGO? Non-government organization. Now, we find that a lot of these NGOs are nothing more than fronts for other nonprofits that are spearheaded by Soros and other left-wing radicals, which they say we're doing humanitarian aid around the world, except for sickness has gotten worse, poverty has gotten higher. It's like in California, they've thrown billions of dollars at homelessness, but it seems like it's gotten worse. Why? Because the nonprofits that's facilitating it are taking the money, putting it in their pockets, putting their children through Ivy League school, and setting up trusts to be able to feed their family for generations on the taxpayers' dime. Allegedly. Get that out there. So check out this next clip right here where ABC is forced to give it up. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a Cash App or a Super Chat. But you hitting that like button, it definitely helps spread the video out there. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're already subscribed or subscribing now, make sure that you hit the notification bell and select all. YouTube has issues on the notifications, but when you select all, YouTube will make sure that you get notified when I upload new videos.
For Israel, make no mistake, this is a huge night, potentially the end of the nightmare. For the people of Gaza, this is going to be an enormous relief. For the people of Israel, potentially the end of a 2-year-long nightmare.
And for these families still waiting for the remaining hostages who are still alive to come home, this has been an agonizing wait. And of course, the families who will get the remains of loved ones who died while in captivity.
Monumentous deal. Now, being more specific, let's listen. Chris Cuomo, who was a never Trumper, as we know, went over to News Nation. And every time you think that Chris Cuomo is coming back around, it's almost like somebody on the liberal side says, hey, Chris, hey, brother, don't forget now. Don't forget, play your role. And then he has to say or do something to make us realize that he's a never Trumper. But nobody can deny this. And it's great that they got this on Thomas Sowell's on Thomas Sowell's page. And if you're unfamiliar with who Thomas Sowell is, he's an academic. He's brilliant. And I wish that he would have been involved in politics, but it's too corrupt for him. He's too intelligent, and it just wouldn't have worked. But he called all of this out. And if you haven't checked him out, check out Thomas Sowell. But let's get into this clip here.
Donald Trump on this one has demonstrated a degree of will, unlike any other president, Republican or Democrat. He has pressed an Israeli prime minister in a way that none of his predecessors have ever done, on an issue that prime minister considers vital to his political survival and the way he would define Israeli security requirements. So on this one, Chris, the sun, the moon, and the stars, Hamas is weaker. The Arabs impose significant pressure, the Qataris and Turks, not an Arab country, a Muslim country, and Donald Trump. Sun, the moon, and the stars aligned to be able to envision an implementation of the first phase. And from a human point of view, Chris, that's really right now, hostages, their families, and Palestinian civilians in Gaza, it offers real hope. Wow.
These folks are having to give it up. This is monumentous. Now, right here is a clip of the people in Palestine celebrating, hearing about the deal. Check this out. So our president, who the Democrat Party always likes to put into these positions of being a this or a that, call him a peacemaker too. So if you're going to call him fascist, you're going to call him a dictator, make sure you put peacemaker on top of that. Now let's check out Fox News as they report on the story. Real quick, I want to take a moment to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video and a company I'm happy to be in partnership with, and that's Chapter. When my mother turned 65 and was looking to get on her Medicare plan, she was bombarded with phone calls and with spam emails, and everybody she spoke with was just trying to sell her stuff rather than help her. And one great thing about Chapter is that Chapter's agents are some of the best in the industry, and they give you an unbiased perspective, making sure you have the best Medicare plan available. I mean, imagine this. Wouldn't it suck to find out next year that you've been paying for a plan that no longer covers your prescriptions, that no longer has your doctors in network? That would suck. And in less than 20 minutes on the phone call, the agents over at Chapter can help you make sure that if you got the best Medicare plan, great, you stay where you are. But if there's other plans that are better suited for what you're looking for, they're going to help you make sure you've got the best plan that works for you. Seniors are saving as much as $1,100. That's $1,100 a year with the help of Chapter. And I'm sure you can find better things to do with that $1,100 in your pocket than to give it away for no reason. So call Chapter with the number there on the screen or visit the website.
Let's go over it so you have an understanding of what they perhaps framed out over in Cairo, Egypt. War will end immediately. So the fighting that's still continuing, we saw smoke coming out of Gaza, will cease. I don't think that'll be much of a problem. All hostages will have to cease to be returned within 72 hours. We don't know when the clock actually starts ticking, but let's say Monday, at which time you'll have 20 plus alive and over 50 bodies collected. Right now, that's taking place, we understand, between all the different factions. There are groups that are holding hostages that are not members of Hamas, but have the same militant mindset. Israel released 250 people with life sentences. That means more than likely they have killed before. Think about how difficult that is. 1,700 Gazans. Some people have been captured during this fighting. Keep in mind, Yahya Sinwar was one of the people that was exchanged for one hostage last time. He ends up being the architect of the October 7th attack. Thankfully, him and his brother are dead. Hamas members could be given amnesty if they decommission their weapons and agree to give up their rockets. That was the sticking point yesterday. We believe somehow they overcame it. Hamas will not have any role in the governance of Gaza, we should hope. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. That's not going to be an issue. The issue was really more the West Bank area where the Palestinian Authority mostly has the authority, but I don't think they're looking to take any Gaza, and I don't think that was much of something to be hurdled. Gaza will be governed by a temporary transition government. This is going to be key, and that government's going to be chaired by a peace council by President Trump. And then there's going to be people like Tony Blair, who's given basically his post-prime minister career to trying to find some way forward on a two-state solution or whatever's possible in the area. The question is, if you see Westerners in that region, we know they were targets when the Iraqi transition was taking place, will they be targets again? And the possible path to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, it's all going to be performance-based. How are they acting? Are there really Palestinian technocrats that want to work out a way to rebuild Gaza, set up institutions, security, schools, and things to that nature? I don't know any. And maybe some of them are in prison right now. We're not sure. If you want to have an idea and a visual of what's going on, this was supplied by the White House. This is essentially Israel, okay? This is Gaza. This is where the walls were breached and the attack took place. Right now, we see the IDF is at the blue line. They'll be backing up to the yellow line and eventually be out. One of the sticking points was Hamas was saying, I want them all out before we go out. That doesn't seem to have happened. Well, let's go.
Wow. So as you can see, it's a plan that seems like all parties can get behind. It's something that both parties are getting some of what they want. Nobody's going to get everything, but it's enough to stop the bloodshed. And one of the things that I like to do that really helps me out, a lot of people say, well, Brian, how do you get your information? A lot of time I watch global news. I watch different outlets from around the world, and they give, sometimes depending on the outlet, they give an unbiased perspective on what's happening. You still have a lot of your left-leaning media outlets, even around the world, in Australia and the UK, but then you have some that really call balls and strikes. Sky News is one of those that calls balls and strikes. So let's check out what Sky News has to say about it, and then I'm gonna follow it up with some of the details that they have written about the Gaza plan. So check this out.
I think one of the key things that he managed to do in his unorthodox ways and the unorthodox ways of the people he put to drive this, people like Steve Witkoff, the real estate guy from New York turned diplomat in chief. They did things differently, but crucial, I think, to this were two things. One, to get Gulf Arab countries firmly behind him. Remember, for a long time now, people have kind of accused the Gulf Arab nations of not really genuinely caring about the Palestinian issue. Donald Trump managed to get them firmly behind his vision for what would happen in Gaza and how he could achieve the point that we've got to now and how he can achieve what he wants to get done over the days, weeks and months ahead, the Abraham Accords, normalization deals. He managed to get the Arab countries countries behind him in a way that President Biden did not. Remember, Biden fell out massively with countries like Saudi Arabia. That was a problem. Trump has fostered those relationships through trade deals and all the rest of it. And because he has a rapport with them, the gold, the money, he kind of likes all that. And he did that trip. You and I were both there. And all of that, I think, plays into a clever form of statecraft by Donald Trump that has allowed him to get them on side in a way that they weren't before. That's the first thing. I think the other thing he's managed to do is, in a sort of very Trumpian way, to reverse engineer stuff. So to basically get Hamas to a point through his intermediaries, and there have been people behind the scenes, Americans, who I've spoken to over the past few months, who have been talking to Hamas. And he's managed to persuade them that if they were to release all the hostages in one go, which they were not willing to do before, then Israel would have no justification for its war. And I think that was absolutely key as well. And so if all the hostages are released, then kind of the rug is pulled out from underneath Israel. Why are you still fighting? You've got your hostages back. And so I think that was kind of a key element of it as well. So yes, Hamas is not getting everything that it initially asked for. It's not getting a complete withdrawal of the IDF from Gaza. Now, just a few weeks ago, it would have been inconceivable that Hamas would agree to release all the hostages now if Israel is not going to withdraw completely from Gaza. And yet they've now come to that agreement because there has been an attempt to persuade Hamas that Israel is not going to be justified in carrying on this war if you release all the hostages. So I think that's really interesting as well. And I think also, look, as you wrote it in your analysis online overnight, it is also absolutely true that Prime Minister Netanyahu believes that he is now in a place in time where it's in his interest now more than it was perhaps a year ago when a very similar deal was put forward by President Biden. It is in his interest now to end this war. So all of those factors together, and just the unorthodox style of President Trump, and the fact that he scares the hell out of everyone. They never quite know what he's going to do. And that applies equally to Hamas as it does to the Israelis, to Netanyahu. All of that together means that we've got to a place that we have not been at before. But there's a long way to go. This is just phase one. And
you know what they say, unorthodox. What it is that he walks it like he talks it. He says he's going to do something and he doesn't. And what's sad is that in politics, that's somehow now it seems somehow seen as rude or being unpresidential. They want somebody that does the Gavin Newsom, that smiles and looks handsome, but is destructive behind the scenes. Gavin Newsom, nobody trusts him. Even his own constituents don't trust him. Why? Because he does what most politicians do. They smile and talk a good game, but don't do 90% of what they promised. President Trump, since the day he took office, has done nothing but exactly what he told us. He brought Doge. He closed the border. He stopped inflation. He's bringing peace to the war that he said should have never started, whether it be Israel and Hamas, Ukraine and Russia. And I believe that by brokering this peace deal between Israel and Hamas in a roundabout way, it's going to put pressure on Ukraine and Russia to solve their problem. Because, hey, let's face it, these two Arabs and the Jewish people have been clashing for generations upon generation. This whole Ukraine and Russia thing, Ukraine did break off from the Soviet Union, and there have been some tensions, but this can be easily fixed because the part of Ukraine that Vladimir Putin was going after, those people there speak Russian, have Russian values. They wanted to be a part of of Russia. But Ukraine has, and they're like, no, we're not letting go of any of our citizens. We're not letting go of any of that revenue that we're collecting off these people, regardless if they see themselves as more Russian than they do Ukrainian. So that's what that clash is over. And so luckily with this will help stimulate that. But at the end of the day, the media had to give it up and admit this is a groundbreaking deal. And like they say, unorthodox. Yeah, he realized that the typical way everybody was doing things didn't work. That is the true definition of insanity. If he would have walked in and did the same thing that Biden did it, same way Obama did it, the same way. No. And you heard him say, he brought a businessman, a successful real estate tycoon to do the negotiation. Because just because you're a politician doesn't make you a good negotiator. Matter of fact, you're probably a terrible negotiator because politicians are beggars. That's why I firmly believe that moving forward, our senators, our presidents, they should be successful people in the business world, in the private sector first, because they show their business acumen. United States of America is a corporation, and we're all the employees and the tenants of this corporation. That's what it is. People look at it as a country, yeah, but it's a revenue generating machine that does business with other corporations like Russia, like whoever else you want to name. These countries are corporations. all doing business. And so you need somebody with business acumen. That's why whenever the government takes over something in the private sector, it fails miserably, because that person that's running those businesses in the private sector has 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of trial and error experience, or got some of the best minds around them. A politician and a group of other politicians dictating business from their Eiffel Towers doesn't work. Like government ran grocery stores have all failed miserably. When the government took over General Motors, struggling, almost went out of business. The government does great at maintaining, setting laws, but when it comes to building and creating, the government sucks. And luckily, our president is a builder. He's a master builder. He's a billionaire builder who created international conglomerates. And he's the same one that's the author of the book, The Art of the Deal. So Dylan Donald went and did his thing, and kudos to him. So I just wanted to bring you this information, this great day. Oh, real quick, let me touch on this really fast as far as what's in this deal. Let's see if they got any of the details. What we know about the Gaza ceasefire. After 3 days of intense indirect negotiations in Egypt, U.S. President Donald Trump says Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of the 20-point peace plan he unveiled last week. This means all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace, he posted on social media, without providing further details about what the first phase entails. Okay, so we don't have any details about it. Okay, so we really don't know any details. I'm sure the specifics will be coming out. It's a 20-point peace plan, but I wanted to bring you this. It's a great day. The media is having to give it up to our president, who's doing what you and I knew he was going to do, which was take care of business. So thank you so much for watching. If you stayed, I want to thank you from the top and the bottom of my heart. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And if you aren't subscribed, subscribe. Most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.